Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grow Your Tutoring Business. Today we've got Lynn Barnes Cooper, who has been in the big group for quite a while now. It's a name that I recognise really well. I've been on the course before. You're inside the membership, Lynn, is that right?
I am, yes.
And also, like, really, I don't know whether you could quite call yourself this yet, but you're into the personal development side of stuff a lot, aren't you?
I am because I've had to go through a lot of it myself. I've had to
Cool.
do a lot of personal development.
We
And
kind of have
by
to,
that,
right?
yeah, I don't mean I don't mean putting things on my wall saying you are strong.
Affirmations,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
look, let's start with the intro. Lynn, tell us a little bit about your business, where you're at right now.
Okay.
And then we'll get into kind of what led you there as if just through the normal conversation.
Yeah. Where I am now is that I am very comfortable. I'm not rolling in cash, but I have the life that, as much as I can at the moment, is making me happy. Um, I'm earning slightly more than I earned as an M6 teacher, and I was an M6 teacher for a very long time. Um, and it's just where I want to be.
What do you
That's all I
teach,
can
Lynn?
say.
What's your subject?
Right. My subject is I do primary, but I've also branched out into whatever is needed of me. I wasn't always a teacher, so before I was a teacher, I was in the NHS, and so I can use that as part of my package, if you like, for people that want it. So I also teach biology. I've taught GCSE English literature because that's an absolute passion. I just love talking about the books and how they relate to people's lives. And I've had some really good tutees with that. Mainly, I think I'm an 11 plus tutor. Um, it's all word of mouth. I get hardly anybody through Facebook or social media. It's all people being referred to me from others, and it's absolutely wonderful. I couldn't ask for anything more, really.
Lynn, so in
Well,
the
you could,
beginning,
you
yeah.
always could.
Well, we say this a lot, particularly on the podcast, but word of mouth is still the number one way to grow, whatever
Absolutely.
business model you use. If someone was sat there right now and they go, well, do you know what? I've only got a couple, and word of mouth, it might take a little while. Why do you think word of mouth works for you? What is it that you think people take from your sessions and then go and share?
Quality. I think absolutely hands down is quality. And I've heard you mention before, it's about the value that you're adding. Um, I think that before I went into tutoring, and I started my own business in 2021. Before I went into tutoring, um, you have this idea that it's all very simple, that you can just go in, tutor, and come away from it, get the money. Well, at least I think we know that it's not quite that simple.
Mhm.
But when you're coming away from that pressured environment of being a teacher, perhaps there is a tendency to think that it's really going to be that simple. You're just going to go into somebody's house, tutor them, and then come out and the money's there. And I think for some people it can be like that.
Yeah.
But if you want to have it as a business, you have to offer more and you have to do more. And so without realizing it, I think I developed a way of being what people wanted. So I have some children who are on the autistic spectrum, for instance. And that has happened because I feel I can relate well to the children. And once that happens, and once adults see that, they then say, "Oh, Lynn was really good with my daughter or my son. She's really good. I think she'll be good with your child." And then from that referral, I will get somebody else that is similar. But likewise, because I started off as well doing bits and bobs, as most other tutors do, I think you take what comes. Part of that was 11 plus. They got through to into grammar school, and then that word of mouth started, and now I've got lots of 11 plus students. I also got somebody that just wanted some extra help, and they've been with me since the start. So I think also I have this reputation as being somebody that is not just a dip in and out of. It's somebody that you can stay with for as long as you need to, but there is not a pressure to have to stay if you don't want to. You're not tied for the whole half term or the term. And I can say that with confidence because I know that nobody goes. I've had maybe one or two people drop out for whatever reason. I'm not going to get, upset about people dropping out because that's the whole thing. You drop out for your own reasons. And it just opens up the doorway for somebody else to come in. And I think that's a really important part of running your business, is learning to let go and understanding that people will come, people will go, but people will also value what it is you have to offer for them.
So your value there is about your skill set.
I think it's about my skill set, but I think, and I've wondered about this because you do put a lot of thought into your business when you realize that it's going to be a real thing. I'm thinking, how can I show my value? Part of that was realizing that I could utilize I call it my shed, my cabin in my back garden. It's like, I looked at my husband, I said, there's money in that shed. And sure enough, as soon as I started taking that kind of tuition, inviting people to me and having that base and being able to use that base as part of the business, people see you as a business. You're no longer just going to people's homes. You're no longer that traveling salesman, I think that sometimes you're seen as when you're just going to people's home. When you have a base, people see you differently. It might not have to be a big building, but it is just my cabin in the back of my garden. And the interesting thing is just having that has also got me online tutors as well, purely because they see that you are serious about what you do. Now, that is not to say at all that people that are just starting and they are visiting other people's houses and have businesses that go to other people's houses. I am not at all suggesting that you are not serious in some way at all. What I am saying is that everybody has ideal clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those ideal clients will be ones that are looking for what you offer. And that happens to be what I offer. I happen to be able to offer a nice environment where parents can stay. I have absolutely no problem with parents. I've got a lovely sofa. You sit down, you take part if you like. As long as you're not interrupting the tutoring, take part, we'll have a laugh. And that's a key thing, is that a lot of my tutoring is based on humor. Obviously, the subject matter has to come first. But I know that my sessions are filled with humor and joy and, dare I say, almost like love, I suppose, that we have this reason I went into teaching in the first place. This rapport that you get with the children, and it's not just with the children. You can probably see now it's coming out in me. You have the rapport with the families as well, and that is the value that people are looking for me. That is my ideal client that sees that wants that, will pay for that, because we are a business as well.
I think there's like a couple of different ways you can come at this. So the first one is like that difficulty of, I suppose, extrapolating that into like words or content so that people can come and go, yeah, this is the person, because that's quite a person for us, because that's quite hard to do. Like what you've just done. Yeah.
That's why it has to be word of mouth, because you can't, it's difficult to verbalize that part.
Yeah, totally get that. And I think that the second part to that is then delivering it. And I think in a service industry, if the service isn't at the right level, it's not going to work.
Absolutely,
you kicked it off with the word quality. If you deliver the quality, you will never have a problem with finding clients.
Absolutely. And that is why I like my parents to stay in with me. So I can say to them as I'm tutoring them, this is why I'm doing this. I am doing this so that this will lead to this and then this. It's the explanation of the things that we used to do as tutors and taking them on that education journey. So, for instance, if you need to go back, and I'll use this as an example now, I'm sure I'm not the only person that's done this, and I'm not teaching people to suck eggs, but I had this very, very capable 11 plus student who knows everything there is to know about calculations, and yet could not understand the concept of giving change. We had to go right the way back to using a number line, year 2 level, for the idea of counting out that change. Now, if I hadn't have been able to explain to the parent there the reason I'd done that, they'd have taken that work home and gone, what on earth is she teaching my child? My child is worth much more. But because they could see the struggles in that session, I know that I'm not going to have that complaint later. I know that I'm able to tutor that child at the right level for them, create that bespoke service that we like to bandy around, but the parent can seize it, and that is the value in what you're doing.
This is quite controversial in terms of letting your parents stay.
So
well, yeah, so tell us a little bit about what led you to that decision, because there'll be a lot of people going, no, there's no way I would do that.
And that is absolutely fine. But I think it comes from a place of, right, you've got to, the problem is that as a teacher, and there are so many others that had the confidence battered out of them at school. I did come from that. We've spoke about that briefly, and it's not something that I'm going to go into. Let's just say it mirrors so many other people. And if there's anybody watching from my last school that I worked at 6 years, can I just say it's not you? That was a wonderful school. Wonderful school, actually. But I know that I was good at what I did ultimately, because I have that memory of it, and I knew it was in me. I knew I had so much to offer, and I've held on to that. And I think that when you can show that to people, it helps you as well. And I've found that the more I have a rapport with the families of these students, and I think it's really important to say that that doesn't mean you're at their beck and call. Got to put that in, but having that rapport with them and them trusting you and understanding what you're doing. And even I see some parents that will just sit there and they'll be listening to me, and I can see this look in their face. It's almost like they're enthralled, like you're entertaining them in some way. And it's just a marvelous thing. You do get those goosebumps that you're providing a service and you're providing something that's really useful. So for me, it is not a problem at all having parents in. I've got a sofa there. It's like, and I think that's where it came from. It's like, well, what do we do with this sofa? To my husband, what do we do with this sofa? Well, we might as well keep it there and use it.
It's quite a unique selling point, without a doubt. I actually agree with you. Like when I was doing the whole like traveling around to houses, I really liked it when there was a parent there, because they could, or they would often just join in or go, oh, I didn't realize we would do it like that. It makes so much sense. And you're taking them on that journey too.
Yeah.
It didn't happen so much when I moved. So I've got a cabin in my garden, which was where I was originally going to teach from. And a few of the parents stayed in there, and it never bothered me ever. But then when we came up to the office space here, they didn't want to come in. It was almost like it formalized it too much.
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah. The parents like to come to me. They like to sit on my sofa, get on with their work if they're able to, because some parents do that. When the weather's nice, they like to sit out in the garden and have the cats with them. My cats are a unique selling point. The children love my cats. They love them being able to come in and out. One of my cats, unfortunately, died in October. I had such an outpouring of not grief as such, sadness. And I had little gifts, like little paper origami cats brought to me, and they still mention them. But it is this feeling that you become almost like, I used to call my children at school my class family. we're in a class family, and that's exactly what my tuition feels like to me, and that's why I enjoy doing it so much, and I think that's why it's become successful. However, I'm not losing sight of the fact that it is also a business, and we are here to make money from it. Which I think some people can feel a bit uncomfortable with.
Well, we were speaking before, and I didn't open up this door, but I do it now, like, because there was an element that you felt, we won't name anything, but there's an element that there will be people in your life, and I've spoken about this before, and I've had it in my life as well, where not everybody wants you to succeed, and you can find yourself in a group of wherever it may be. It might be friends, it might be acquaintances, whoever you want to call them. How do you handle those feelings, Lynn, that come up? Although you think, oh, they
It
don't want
used
to do
to
this, or
it used to bother me quite a lot, and to some extent it bothers me now, but I push it aside. It's almost like you're doing that la 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 la, I'm not listening, and you have to get over it, otherwise you'll not progress with anything in your life at all. And for some people, I think it can be a big sticking point, and I know that because it was a big sticking point for me.
yeah.
I grew up in a not very wealthy family. In fact, if you look back, I mean, my parents provided everything they absolutely could, but we were by no means at all a wealthy family. It's my mum did everything that she could to give me, I was an only child at that time, as much as she could. Nobody in my family had ever gone to university. Nobody in my family had ever started their own business. So everything that I did, which could be absolutely part and parcel of normal life for a lot of other families, was completely unique and entirely frightening. So I've come from a family, for instance, through no fault of their own, have always been very cautious. Make sure you get the job that you're going to have for life. Make sure that is that the right thing to do? Are you sure your money is going to be safe there? Yes. Is it better to go for the big money or just less money, but make sure you've got it coming in? Is that caution? And the trouble is that when you start your own business, you have to let some of that go. And with that has to be letting go of the idea of what people think of you. Because unfortunately, there will be lots of people in your life that will be happy to see you fail purely because it stops, it gives them a reason for staying where they are.
Well said. Well said, because it's so true. We hold a mirror up to people and their own lives, because they can see someone like yourself taking big action and they're like, I could do that, but you don't. But they don't do it, but you continue to do it. But it's very easy to be reeled back in by the comments, and or that they might be saying things, or they might even be really like brash and just tell you about it. Why are you doing that for? What who do you think you are, building your business and trying to create this wealth for yourself? You're just a teacher, or you're just running a small tuition business.
They do that plumber thing. Oh, I don't know, love.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, this stuff rings true will ring true with many people. But I think the whole, I'll name it, but friendship groups, family, they can all be naysayers. You want to be really careful about who you're spending time with, and it doesn't mean that you cut people out. I'm really conscious to share the whole thing. Don't just go, right, that's it, I'm never seeing these people again. But the way that you turn up, or even the things that you share, it's okay in the beginning to be a little bit guarded. Because you are going to be so excited and you're going to want to share, and then you'll share something and then someone will cut you really deep with a comment.
I feel that I should also be a spokesperson for the people that don't want to share. I am, and as you'll probably realize this, Richard, I've been in your group a long time, but I only sort of poke my head out the parapet every now and again, because I am one of life's introverts, and I am not a social person, and I find it very, very difficult to do small talk. Occasionally, once I get going like this, woohoo, that's it, there's no stopping me. But in general, what will happen is they will then go very quiet and behind the scenes again. And There is an idea, and it is a very powerful one, of course, obviously, that you have to get out there to make a business of your own, and that is true. But that doesn't mean that you have to do it at the expense of who you are. I am still perfectly okay with being an introvert and also becoming that other part of me that it needs to be when I tutor. And I know, because I've spoken to them, some people have difficulty grasping or grappling with those two aspects of themselves. That quiet person that needs the peace and needs to be by themselves, who then has to come out of themselves to do the job that they need to do.
Yeah, I will echo that. It's really important. That and sensible for most people, whether you're an introvert and extrovert. Extroverts will find that tricky because you just want to share.
Yeah.
But people will still feel the cuts of people's comments, and it might take a while to figure it out, and it might take a little while to kind of like remove yourself, maybe like 1 or 2 steps away from certain things, and then find a new group of people who will celebrate, which is part of, we did chat a little bit before, which I'm actually going to record a podcast almost straight away after talking about an experience I had at Atomicon, which is about that celebration of success. You need to find people who will go, oh my God, Lynn, amazing. I've just seen your post about this new thing you're doing. That looks so good. Compared to, what are you doing that for, Lynn? That's not going to work, is it? That's really silly. Yeah, well, and then because most of the things we try in business, and I don't want to put people off, but you'll try a lot of things in business, and the vast majority of them are not going to work.
I've already been there, done that. I've had so many little arms that have like, oh, I know, I'm going to try this. And I've tried it, but it's like, nope, that's not worked, has it? Oh, well.
And that's
back to the
cutting
drawing
enough.
board.
And that's cutting enough. But what you need to do is make sure that you've got the person going, yeah, what else are you going to try? Not, see, I told you. Like
Yeah.
that, you need to avoid that as much as possible. Look, it will happen, but you'll tell yourself that, because we're always our own worst critics. Then when you have those moments where you are trying things out, or you have like what we would call another crazy idea, how do you stay motivated after, like, perhaps hasn't gone quite as well as what you thought? How do you stay on top of that? I suppose it's the mindset side of your business.
It is a mindset thing, and it's only something that I've been able to develop since starting my own business. So what I will say is, starting my own business has given me an absolute, complete new lease of life. It's turned me back into the person that I should have always been. It's made me realize that you just have to keep going. You cannot take failure. No, that's wrong. Actually, you can take failure, and that's the point, is that you should be failing. If you're not failing, then what are you learning?
I love that.
If you're failing,
and
you will tweak it next time, or you do something wrong. What you don't do is say, that's it, I'm never going to do it again. You could put it on the back burner. So for instance, I had this idea that I was going to, and I'm the same as lots of other people here, so this is not like a new business idea. I'm doing 11 plus. Why don't I also provide mock exams? Great little learner, thought I. What I hadn't realized was that in order to get this off the ground, I needed enough people to take that. I also needed an adequate setup which was going to allow me to print any resources that I needed, to get certain things together. What I then realized was that after a few sessions, when people were coming to me, I was in danger of being their sole 11 plus provider, which meant that I would be opening myself up to all sorts if their children didn't pass the exam. Because after all, they come to do their mock examinations with me, they'd done their tutoring with me. I was telling them they were at such and such a level, so why on the day didn't they get that pass? And it would all be down to me. And I thought, I don't like this. So what I've done is, I've not discounted it. I am going to do it, but at the moment, I am shelving it to give those parents a chance to go and get their mock exams somewhere else. And while I can also make my systems better, because
Mm,
it's not quite worked enough for me. I've not
mm,
made the money from it that I wanted. I've not got the setup that I quite want. I've tried it. It's not
mm,
working for me yet, and I'll come back to it another time.
mm. Yeah, that's interesting. I think there'll be a lot of 11 plus tutors that go through that. I go through that myself, where I look at it and you review it and you go, I reckon there's more here. Okay,
Yeah,
there's something else I
but
could
we're not going to
do.
give up, are we? We're not
No,
going to
no,
give up.
not at all. No, 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 not at all. I like the idea of using that word perseverance, because what you're saying is that just keep going, because the only way that you ever truly fail is by stopping. That's the only time that word comes into play for me, because you might do something and it completely like falls on its ass, doesn't work, doesn't move forward.
Yeah,
But there's
but
always something to take away that you've learned. And even if in the most smallest way, it's, well, that doesn't work. Got to
yeah,
do something different.
I think that you do have to sometimes realize, though, when something is dead in the ditch, and you
Mm,
need to have that strength to leave it and to
mm,
say, no,
mm.
actually, and to realize that that is not a failure. And for many people, that probably starts at the point that they say, I'm not a teacher anymore. I am leaving the teaching behind me.
Has that been important for you?
Yeah, hugely. I wanted to hold on to this persona of being a teacher for so long because it was who I was. I'd been one for over 20 years. I am a teacher. I am a teacher. And you have this imagined respect, which thankfully the media have completely seen to that one. That's gone out of the window. But you still see yourself as a teacher as this almost pillar of the community. And to me, the biggest epiphany was being able to let that go and say, do you know what? I'm enough without this mantle, without this title of being a teacher. I'm somebody that helps somebody's children, that is a teacher still, but not that kind of teacher. And it's been so freeing being able to just say, that part of me is dead in the ditch. I am never going to go back into a school again if I live. It's never going to happen. Don't even entertain it, because it would be the death of me, I tell you.
I did some work on this a little while ago about identity, and we wrap so much into it.
We do.
I like a particular, and this could be again anything, but for us, it's teaching. And I think in particular, that was quite a tough unwrap for me, because I
Yeah.
was the same as you. Like, first of all, I absolutely loved it. There were so many parts of the job that I absolutely adored. And then
Yeah. I
coming away
loved
from,
being called the teacher. I am a teacher.
yeah, and that's quite a lot, isn't it? And you have to let go. And I found, and I still do find that tricky. Even in some of my messaging now, I'm still like, oh, teacher first, tutor second, which I don't think is true anymore. Like that probably ended a couple of years ago, but there's still an element of me that doesn't want to remove that from my messaging, which
Yes.
needs unpicking.
Because no. I would go for the fact that, sorry, I've just done it right. No, I'd go for the fact that that is part of your selling point, isn't it?
Mm,
There are
yeah.
so many tutors out there that are doing, and I'm not suggesting at all that all tutors that aren't teachers are not providing a worth. We've got tutors out there that are selling their services for £5 an hour.
Mm,
Um, for whatever reason, I'm not here to judge anything like that. We've also got tutors that are selling their services for £200 plus an hour.
yeah.
We've got the whole range. And then there's us in the middle, serving a particular niche of parents that want their tutors to be teachers.
Mm,
There are probably more than we could possibly imagine of parents out there that just want somebody to be able to teach their child what they know and aren't at all interested in the teacher aspect. There are home educators that want to get away from that system. We just have a niche, and that's our niche.
mm,
And
yeah.
therefore, I am happy to say that I was a teacher. I do use that as a main point for my
Mm.
teaching, but it's no longer tied up with teaching in school for me.
You mentioned there a couple of things, which kind of leads me on to the words we spoke about before we pressed record, which was self-worth.
Yeah.
And then looking at like your time, for example, and you have a really good take on this, which I would want you to share with everybody. So tell us a little bit about what you consider to be like self-worth and how you can like use that to make decisions about how you spend your time as a business owner now.
Okay. Um, you have a price per hour, which I am getting away from. My business, I would still say it's in its infancy. I mean, my tutoring is as I think I might have already said on here, I don't know. I started my actual business in 2021, and I'm more than happy with how it's gone. I'm thrilled. In fact, I'm absolutely thrilled, to be honest. But it's not where I want to be ultimately. Haven't
Mm.
quite decided where it is to go. But what I do have is a price per hour. I want to get away from that, but at the moment, this is a defining point for me. And what this means for me is that anything that I can source out for somebody that can do it for less is worth my time, is worth me paying them to do. And so I source out things from around the house. So I've got somebody that comes and cuts my lawn because I'm spending that time working on my business. And to me, that is absolutely worth it. It means that I'm freeing up time then to spend the time that I need with my family and not being tied to the kitchen, tied to doing jobs around the house, tied to the DIY, tied to doing this, that, and the other. It's those aspects of life which I think for people like me who were brought up knowing that if you could do it yourself, it would save you money. That's a really difficult thing to let go of. The idea of spending money because it's not worth it for you, that your time is worth more. And to me, it is. My time is absolutely precious to me. Any time that I'm not tutoring, I want it to be with my family, or I want to be watching Netflix.
Have you ever heard the story of the two families that enter the shop? Like one's got £5, one's got £10,000.
No, no.
Right, so a bit of money. This is money mindset story. So let's say you're imagining you are the parent of two children, and you're walking into the shop, and you've got to feed your family for the day, but you've got £5 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
How carefully do you walk around the shop selecting the food or where you spend it? You know, you're going to watch every single thing that goes into the basket because it's very limited amount of money. And then become the parent that's got £10,000 in their pocket. How much do you care? You spend willy-nilly because it doesn't matter. You're going to go and only got to feed them for the day. So it makes no difference. You just go, yeah, sure, fit it in. Now just replace the £5 and the £10,000 with time. If you've got a short amount of time, which guess what? We've all got a short
Yeah.
amount of time. We've all got a short amount of time. None of us are the £10,000 person because we don't know. We just don't know. Where are you spending your time? And you've got to start tracking it properly. I 100% get on board with your mindset on this. And you need to take that mindset into your business as well at some point, because you already get it. Someone else come and mow the lawn because my time's too precious. Someone else can come do the admin
Yeah.
because my time's too precious.
Yeah.
Someone else can onboard clients because my time's too precious. Someone else can design that. Someone else can do my social media. Look, and they're all going
Yeah.
up the ladder and growing a bigger
Because
business, but essentially it's the same.
because even that hour you spend or 2 hours you spend watching Netflix, your time is too precious. It is your choice.
Yeah. It's all, yeah. And we want to buy our time back. You're buying your time back. That's
That
all you're
makes it
doing.
sound like I watch Netflix all the time. I don't. I'm having a bit of a binge
you've
at the
outed
moment.
yourself, Lynn. There, yeah.
But
No, it's such an important part that if you are stuck in your business, it's not likely to do with anything you're doing really massively in the wrong way. Often it's because we're stuck doing the tasks that are not allowing us to grow the business. We're just doing the task to keep us sustained and maintained.
absolutely. Before I started my business, and I kid you not, this has only happened within the last 6 months. It's only been the last 6 months I've bought myself a dishwasher. And the amount of time that has saved
I
has
love dishwasher. Yeah.
been astounding. It is
Yeah.
little things like this.
Mm,
It's the little things, they
mm,
all add up, and it's just not worth my time, not when we are running a business.
mm.
End of
Yeah,
story.
and just to round that up, like most of us will spend our life thinking along the lines that we've got £10,000 to spend in the shop of time we haven't. And so
No,
we
and that brings me to another thing. Sorry, I'm so sorry to have interrupted you
no, let's
there.
go for it.
But my mindset around money has absolutely changed since I've started my business. I was always the kind of person that was okay with money, but to me, it was normal for people around me to have some kind of debt. But what you don't realize is that debt is because you've become part of a consumer society. And you hear that word bandied around, but you don't really realize what it means until when I started my own business and I knew straight away that I was responsible for my own tax. End of story. And I was like, oh, you're watching it. It's like making sure I do not want to get into trouble with anybody. So I was putting away as much as I possibly could. And I found that I was quite happy to do that. And more than that, I enjoyed watching the amounts add up, even though I knew that a big chunk of that was not mine. I was enjoying then putting as much as I could and seeing that build. And what I realized was that I was no longer of a consumer mindset. It didn't bother me that somebody else had got a better car anymore.
Mm,
It didn't bother me that somebody else had got maybe slightly nicer clothes, you know. But the weird thing is that because I've gotten myself into that habit, I know that if I want to go out and have this big splashback, then I can.
mm,
And it's not going to get me into debt. It's not going to get me into trouble with HMRC. The money is there, but my mindset around it is different. Because I can, I tend not to. Whereas before, if I felt that I couldn't, I would really, really want to go out and buy that new dress.
yeah. Well, your goals change as well, and you
Yeah,
start moving towards these new goals, which aren't about like buying or pretending to get that pleasure, or you do get the pleasure, I suppose, from the consumerism, but it doesn't last very long. Like
no,
you're into the next phase almost straight away once you've got it. Whereas
yeah,
building a business, this is different. This is yeah, there's longevity in there, and you can stick at it. Yeah, I
there
definitely get that.
is.
Yeah, I
And the
definitely get that.
beauty with tutoring is that you don't have to have that huge initial outlay. You're not
Mm,
starting off a shop where you've got to have all of this stock and everything. You can do it off your own
mm.
back. Everything that you've got is right there. And so I've forgotten where I was going with that.
Well, what you're saying there is something that we talk about in the course. It's like, look, when you're selling a service, you don't have to go and do the research of manufacturers. You don't have to go and do your prototypes. You don't have to figure out logistics of sending it out there and all those.
Yeah, that's it.
You've got your experience and your skill set and that knowledge that people want. And so you can start this business almost for free. It might cost you
Yes.
£5 petrol money
Yeah.
to go
And
driving about. That's it.
that's something else, is that now if I see an expense and I think that the business warrants it, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you
Freedom.
know what? I've
Yeah.
had so much fun from that account. It's like, right, I have my new microphone.
Yeah.
I'm having my light set up. I've got a new printer. I don't
Yeah.
buy it all at once. I'm not silly,
Yeah.
and I certainly don't buy anything if things aren't broken. I still go with that. If it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. But it
Yeah.
has given me, I'd say, an excuse. It's like I don't
What's the
have to
business
just
thing?
buy the cheapest
Yeah.
printer. It's a
Yeah.
business thing. I need this
Yeah.
more expensive one. I've got a lot of printing to do now.
So
Um,
Lynn, let's
yeah.
let's let's move on one step. Right. Let's say someone comes to you and says, Lynn, you're doing really well.
That's actually
What's the
thanks.
biggest piece of advice that you could give to me? I'm just about to start out. What should I do first?
Uh, that's a tough one because at the same On the one hand, you have to say go for it. And on the other hand, I live in Birmingham and I have seen people that have appeared and disappeared because they assume that they can book a hall and that people will flock to them and that's their business sorted and they will fly from there. And then what's happened is that that's not happened for them. And I've seen this happen more than 5 or 6 occasions. And then they disappear. And part of me thinks that that is because you need to look at what's going on around you first, that you really need to check what's happening in your area. But the other part of me thinks that also it's because at that stage of your career as a business person, maybe it's because you're just coming out of teaching that you haven't yet developed that idea that you need to keep going. You need to keep going. You need to not say, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm useless. They were right.
Yeah. So a bit of research. Do your research.
Do a little bit of research, yeah.
Start developing you start developing your business mindset. Actually, we do need to persevere. It's not going to happen in 2 to 3 weeks.
No, mine took a very long time. Do you mind if we talk figures? For me, not you, obviously.
Yeah.
In my first year of tutoring, I think I brought in 3,000. My second year, 7, which I was happy about. I was doing this alongside supply teaching as well, with the idea that hopefully this would take over. Well, not hopefully, I used that word wrong. It was no hope about it. The goal was that it eventually would take over. And that is one thing I did want to say, is that when you're starting out, 3 weeks seems like 3 years. And I see people post online. I put an advert up and it's been 2 weeks and nobody's replied to it. And I remember feeling, it felt like years, just like crickets chirping, tumbleweeds rolling, but it's nothing. And then 6 months, my first 6 months went past with only 1 student. And then I got another one. And then time goes by and it does feel like you're whistling into the distance. But in reality, if we really consider that I've only been doing this since 2021 and it's now 2024, and I've got an established, thriving solo business, it's like, oh, there's part of me that's just like, I can't quite believe that I did that. Oh my gosh,
it's a good feeling.
In your face.
Yeah.
There is that sort of like, wow, moment, but it's taken not very long, really. But during the time it took, it felt like an eternity for that momentum to build up to a stage where they were just, and even now, I'm not getting phone calls every day going like, it just doesn't happen like that. Weeks go by without hearing from people. And I kid you not here, my name must be mentioned on a WhatsApp group. I had 2 inquiries within 3 minutes of each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, then that goes quiet for a bit. And that's the way, because I don't have a huge business. This is just me, myself, and I.
And that's the life of a small business, isn't it? That's funny, because there's something in there about expectation as well, managing that at the beginning and then not beating yourself up and have that perseverance along the way.
Yes, it is very much about that, yeah.
But then that's why this exists, this podcast, and also why that free space exists, because people can go in and say, oh, is this normal? What am I doing? Can someone come and look? And then you can find the support and go, oh, you did 1 post in 3 months. Of course, no one's seeing it now.
That's me. That's me. 1 post in 3 months. That's definitely me. But then I've come to realize that I don't necessarily need to for my business as it is now, because when my business is coming to me from word of mouth, actually the social media aspect of it to me, that is my waste of time. If I'm spending too much time doing that, I'm not serving myself the
Yeah,
best way that I can.
that's really
Um,
interesting. Thank you,
yeah,
Lynn.
you're
Is there
welcome. More
is
than
there
welcome.
is there anything here that we haven't spoke about that you'd really like to share? Is there anything that we've not covered yet?
I don't think so.
We're
I
all
think,
good.
yeah, I hope that in some way that I have added to somebody's journey, that I have made them think twice about something if you are having doubts, because there are people that have the magic touch that make things happen. There was somebody that came on very recently who has done it in a very short space of time, and that is absolutely fantastic, and it does happen.
Mm.
But likewise, it is okay to take the longer route.
Definitely. And that's been my journey. My journey was not fast. Mine mirrors you, actually, pretty similar. And we all come at it from a different starting point. And there are other unknowns you won't even consider when you start. And some of you will put one post out and you'll get like 50 inquiries, and others will
Yeah.
just put a little message into your group chats or your contacts in your phone, and it'll be crickets for the
Yep.
first few times you do it. That's
Yeah, but just don't
okay.
give up.
Yeah, just
Don't
don't
give
give up.
up.
Just keep it going. It's a great way to, a great message to end the podcast. Lynn, thank you so much for your time. We
No,
really
you are
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you
Thank
very,
you.
very much for hosting this. Thank you.